What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NFT Pirates. I have Rudy and Tina in the house, man. We've been trying to get these guys on forever. Finally made it happen. They're big time collectors. They're huge into real estate. They've got a ton of insane collectibles and even some matching mints. And they're also now in-person collectors, and they just got a ton of knowledge. And it's so funny. I originally tried to get Rudy on for an interview. And then all of a sudden I heard Tina speak on a separate Twitter space. And I was like, oh, I've got to get her on for an interview. Found out they're both together. And now I've got them both, two for the price of one. So thanks for coming on.
For sure, man.
Thank you. It's an honor. You were the very first live or YouTube stream that I'd ever even watched about VEVE, like trying to figure out the company.
That's true, Chad. It was your video that finally brought her in.
Yeah,
I tried to bring her in many times. She's like, no,
I'm
it was your video.
It's not for me. I don't know. VEVE, what? No. And then I saw yours. I was like, I don't know. Let me take a closer look.
Wow, that's so crazy. So Rudy, you got into it first then, right? And then you're yeah. And how did that happen for you? Were you just like, I want to make some investments in crypto? Like, what was the thinking there?
Not at all. So a cousin came over for Thanksgiving, and he was just like, hey, look at this. Look, I'm about to buy this R2D2 on auction for $1,000. I'm like, you're an idiot. I'm like, no, dude, are you serious? So I had to go through that learning experience. Then I bought my first collectible during Thanksgiving. It was a Steve Rogers, and it was $35. I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. Oh, this is cool. I can use it in AR. I kind of just ignored it. I bought a couple things and kind of just left it at that. So my cousin calls me in January, goes, dude, look at your collectibles. Look what they're worth. I'm like, what? Look it up. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this is, what's going on here? What is this? So that's when I started doing a little digging and trying to learn more about it.
Wow. And obviously, Tina, when you saw those price points, you're probably pretty interested too, right?
I was just like, they had me set up an account or something, and I was like, okay, whatever. And actually, I on accident set up 2 accounts, so I couldn't remember which email I set the first account up with. But yeah, it just was like a back burner thing, and I was like, all right, this is silly. It's like for kids or something. Like, I don't know. I just really didn't get it. And then coming from his cousin, so his cousin is he sells a lot of stuff, and we love him dearly, but he's like into like all of them, and he's like, he's incredibly smart, but he's all over the place, like scroll, so it's hard to like keep up with him. And I am more like cautious, very skeptical when it comes to something just unusual or different. And then, I don't know, it's very different. But then when I started seeing Rudy's like, I just made like, $500. And I was like, what? Let me see that. I'm like scrolling through, and then he's like, yeah, this might be something. I don't know. And then we started like hunting for anything about VEVE, like every YouTuber we could find, came across Randy, we came across My Collectibles, came across Dino, came across like
everybody.
Yeah, so many Superstar, like so many of them. And we were like, this is like a thing, like people are really into. And then we started seeing these crazy numbers in that January. And I was just like, who pays $40,000 for something you cannot hold? Like, who does this?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
It took a while to kind of let it sink in on what's really going on here. So finally, when it hit, that was probably after we got burned in spring, right? As everybody did, if you bought anything during the Vader drop, that's when we really started to kick it up, saying, okay, I like this. Let's start moving things.
Yeah, that was cool. I got the ultra rare Vader. I was really excited. So that changed a lot of things. I was like, this is crazy. And then our friend's best friend, he was 14 at the time.
Oh yeah.
He was 14, and he just like signed up for the account the night before. And then he lands the Vader. And we were
like,
just like,
$2,000 in your pocket like this.
Yeah. No, he's like, should I sell? I'm like, absolutely not. And it was like at almost $3,000, right? And now every time I see him, hey, how's that Vader doing? I'm like, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. And that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
It's like we kind of went through this crazy rush. And the thing is, like, I think, a lot of people are still holding on to that point, being like, oh, it's gonna go back up, it's gonna go back up. But what's your guys' take now? Like, I feel like you're kind of in it not only for just the investment side of things, but more so for the collecting, right? If I'm not wrong, you're almost like physical collectors now, right?
100%. So this unfortunately, a lot of people are looking at this like to make money or this is their career to try to move to. This is fun. It's just, we have an incredibly fun time doing it. It's an expensive hobby, right? So investment, great. If it ends up going up, fantastic. But we'll stick with, if we're going to really invest, it's going to be real estate for us. So that's where we really, but this is more, we want to collect, we want to get the best mints. We want to, it's a game to us.
Yeah, this is definitely become something that's like strategy. I love, if you do not know us very well, we are incredibly competitive against each other.
It's completely separate.
So complete, like very, very competitive. Like I have my account, I have my MCP points. He has his account. He has his. We don't even talk about what we're buying oftentimes. Like we're like, I'm working on something big. I'm working on something big.
If she finds out, she'll undercut me in the market. I'm sure.
No.
That's awesome.
Every once in a while. But it has become something that is just fun, family fun. Our kids are both involved in it. Our kids have landed some amazing drops. It has just become something that is like, instead of like going and blowing $200 or $300 on a dinner, where you get nothing, but you have one dinner where you might have a great, Wagyu, or you have something wonderful, a few drinks. We literally have just kind of turned a corner, and now it's become hobby, passion, community. Like, we've been doing real estate for so many years. Like we have our real estate community too, wow. But there's this like incredible, like we had the honor of actually, let me go back to further understand VEVE. I was like, these people are meeting the CEOs of the company. Like I was like on LinkedIn, who's David Yu? Who's Keanu Krause? Who's this Alex guy? Who's this guy? So I'm researching all this stuff. I'm listening to the Twitter spaces. I'm listening to all these people talk about them. And then we were in Montana on vacation when San Diego Comic-Con was happening, the first 2 years.
Nice.
Right? And everybody's saying how great it is, how fun it is. And I'm like, who flies clear across the world to go to this event to meet like the CEOs of VEVE from like Europe and Australia and New Zealand, all these places? I'm like, who does this? Canada. And then I was like, after we saw all the like coverage of it and we were hearing about it, I was like, we're going to meet them. I want to see who these people are. I want to know who they are. I want to know if they're like true blue, if they're shady, if they're trying to pull wool over your eyes or something. So sure enough, we booked a trip. We're like, okay, we're going New York, book New York. Then after we went to New York, it was just this amazing experience. It was like real people, very intelligent people. I mean, we have had people who just write a $7 million check and buy this luxury mansion. We've had amazing opportunities to sit behind the scenes and just see people with a whole lot of money buy other things. So for us to kind of peek in the window of VEVE and this world and see people that are creating these amazing thousands upon thousands and having like an Aston Martin that is worth, what is it worth right now?
So we saw last night
it's just crazy.
The 7.
I saw that.
The Aston Martin, the big one, was I'd never seen it at 29,000.
I saw that. I'm surprised it's not picked up yet.
Same here. I was like, wow.
It's just crazy. But we literally did. We were like, if we're in this, we're in it. And we're either in or we're out, on things. And we usually are on the same page with lifestyle, So if it's something we're going to do, we love cars. We love cars a lot. We love real estate a lot. But other than that, I'm not dropping 20 grand on a pair of shoes or a purse or something. I want something that's going to make me super happy long-term too. And VEVE does that, regardless of if it took 5 years to make money or if it took 50 or 100 years to make money. I feel like at the end of the day, I have something that is, it's precious. It's like a fun, precious collectible, but it's also the interaction. It's like the game, the fun, the community, being able to actually speak to the CEO in spaces or at the AMAs or at these in real life events. I mean, could you imagine doing that with Elon Musk? Could you imagine doing that with, the CEO of, any major corporation, right? It just doesn't happen. So it's like we're in the beginning phases of a future Tesla, of a future Apple, of a future Microsoft.
Right. I totally agree with that. And I mean, like, we know that everything is going to be minted digitally eventually. And I've said this before, it's almost like they're taking the most precious things in real life and putting them on the blockchain for eternity. And it's like, eventually we're going to be there. So it's like so cool that you're already seeing that, ahead of time. And one thing I'm really curious about is, you both are like so positive, and I think I heard you speak in spaces, Tina, at the time, and everyone was kind of like a heavy FUD, and everyone was kind of like had that fear, and you came in and you're like, listen, like the chance that we even get to have this stuff right now, that we get to collect Disney items, the first of their kind, all this different stuff, and the fact that we're so critical of VEVE, of every little thing that they do, as if we're their advisors, and it was just such a nice take, because I'm so used to just hearing like a lot of the negativity. So how do you both stay like not necessarily secluded, but so like bullish despite some of the sentiment right now and like the bear market? Like what is kind of like, is it just because it's fun for you? Like how does that work?
Well, yeah, of course it's fun, and we're used to it. I mean, believe it or not, we still have, it's the same thing with real estate. When real estate's down, that's all we hear. When real estate's up, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. And it's because of them, why they made money, their decisions. And then when it goes down, oh my God, it's the world's fault or whatever. Want to point fingers. I'm like, it's any industry. It's not just NFTs. So it's no surprise to us to see this kind of sentiment when things are down.
And another thing too is it's optional. Like no one is making anybody buy into VEVE. And I really hope that nobody has tried to buy into any NFT platform, assuming or feeling as though they are guaranteed a profit. Like it is a risk. It's a risk like with anything. There's risks that you take if you bought a collector car. There's risks that you take if you bought real estate. It's timing, it's demand, it's scarcity. But like our thing has been, we don't buy anything unless we are like going to be okay with it. Like if there's something that comes up and it's just some art, like there's a lot of art stuff on VEVE I don't recognize. And I'm like, who's that? What's this? What's this? And if we don't get enough information and it's really just not our thing, we're not buying it. We're not going for every single drop. Like we might go for a drop that we don't know much about just because it's a low dollar amount, low edition amount. And it's like kind of fun just to get the green truck.
We like Vegas, right? So you gotta play the Vegas game every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And it's better than Vegas because you actually get to, I mean, at the end of the day, I got a comic that my kids can read on a road trip.
You get to keep something, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I get to hang on to it. It's mine and it's recorded.
I love that. And that's kind of how I see it now too, is like, despite like, obviously everybody wants to, increase in their value long term, but I'm like, also like, there's so much I can do with this stuff. Like one of my favorite things is like, I take the train in and from work, and I'll actually take out one of these like old comics, like Marvel Comics #1, and I'll read it in augmented reality. And I'm like, this is nuts. And I like, and it's so cool because in my head, I'm like, okay, this is actually like shared IP from the original. This isn't necessarily like a fabrication or a facsimile. I'm like, this is like the first one on the block, and it just hits me and I'm like, oh, I'm reading through it and I'm like, this is so cool that I have like and it's like little moments like that, and then I can then I could buy a second one, or I could get something else, and it's like those are the things that are starting to hit me, and we haven't even seen like the implications of what like the VEVE-verse is going to do in augmented reality and virtual. Like if we're having this much fun now, what will that bring on, right?
Right.
Yeah. So crazy. What were we going to say there, Tina?
I was going to say too, I think another thing is who is backing VEVE compared to every other platform. Because when we're looking at all the other platforms, I feel like they don't have the kind of IP that VEVE does have. So obviously Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, 007, DC, they have trusted these gentlemen to create this brilliant long-term, collectors at heart company.
Right. That's what I mean. And you got to think to yourselves too, like for the biggest, I think you actually said this, if I'm not wrong, for the biggest companies in the world to trust VEVE with this kind of IP and like, especially being the first of their kind. Like sometimes I think to myself, did Disney make a mistake? Did they understood what they let go? Or were they, and I'm like, I don't think they've ever been that silly in the past. So they must be pretty intelligent. So clearly I think they see something there. But I just think like if Disney did sign and they were giving us their like, D and E characters rather than their A and B characters, then I'd be like, okay, maybe they're gonna like set up their own thing. But I just don't see them like starting their own metaverse and like, for instance, like, you know, getting rid of VEVE or like, you know, being like it's negligible at this point. Like I think it's like,
Right.
you know, the history's been written, like it's on IMX. I mean, sure, there's a few other things that we all want to see, like interoperability and what have you, but like the starting points are really strong. And I think like we're all believers. So I don't know I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's where I sit.
No, I
Yeah.
love that. I love how you put that. That's you nailed right on the head.
Yeah, right.
And there's like well thought out. Like we just noticed lots of correlations. Like every time, like when, you know, anything that's going to drop at the movie theaters, or it's going to come out for that brand new toy, or it's like launching this new edition of something. It's like it just correlates with VEVE. So I feel like they thought this out like very, very in advance, what was going to drop and when and how. And if you just kind of pay attention, like my collectibles also always talks about those you know, Easter eggs, you know. So then he got me like looking for the clues, and that was fun too. Like, okay, what do you think? Oh my gosh, they're gonna be, you know, the new Miles Morales is coming out. So let's look at the poster. Let's figure out all the different, you know, collectibles.
It gets you crazy, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
But even our kids, we got our kids looking. We're like, hey, study this poster. What do you guys see on Fortnite? What do you guys see on Roblox? You know, so like they're telling us too. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, Mom, guess who just dropped the Batman Who Laughs, or this guy, and we're like, whoa, I'd never even heard of some of these things before.
I know. And it's so amazing how like much, like especially in the physical world, how like the timing of a big character can increase the value of like comic books or cards or what have you. You know, even like in sports, right? Like Stephen Curry, if he has a great season, like the card might go up in value or what have you. So it's interesting, like, because I'm starting to see that trend on VEVE now. Like people are getting excited about like a future character like Miles Morales, and you see the like collectible. I don't know if it's anticipation of the movie, but I'm like, you know, things start running. So it's like that math and being like, you know, like you said, playing the game and trying to figure it out before other people do is part of the fun, right? Like that's
right.
Yeah, you're right. Even just like walking through Target, you'll see things in the center aisle. Like you start to see a correlation of when stuff drops on VEVE. All of a sudden, I see it in the middle aisles of like Target or something. Like I forgot what it was, but something came up, and I think it was right before the Miles drop. They had Miles Funko Pops all down the middle aisles of Target. I'm like, whoa, it's something's tied together. So it's pretty cool. Our eyes are open for these things now. So
yeah, we're playing it both ways, because I remember even like about a year and a bit ago, like one of my local comic book store dealers, he bought like a bunch of Todd 423 comics, the red one with because of like Todd on VEVE, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, but he's like, I keep selling these comics. So he's like, I bought like a ton of them at a discount, and then I went in and I bought like 3 or 4 of them from him, and he's like, what's with these, like, he's like, why are you buying this from me? He had no idea what was happening in the larger ecosystem, but he just knew that like that comic was selling, right? So that was cool too, you know.
That's really cool. That's very, very cool. Yeah, I never even owned a comic. I never went into comic stores. Like we often go into it now. Atomic Comics, they know us. It is a strange change of events, but then you also look into that world. And so like Swarovski, like you look at these other physical collectors, even the comic books selling for millions of dollars, and it just kind of opened my eyes too, like, whoa, like it just was a world I hadn't even witnessed or seen. And then it's much bigger than VEVE. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of Swarovski, we went to the one in Disney and started looking at some of the stuff they have, which is where we got these Mickeys, right?
Oh yeah,
that's so crazy. Let's see those.
50th anniversary.
Yeah, so they're being discontinued, and there's only 1,000 of them, and they said if they don't sell them, it gets cut off. So we're like, let's just buy them, and just who knows. So it's the 50th anniversary, so they had to get rid of these
before they released the 100.
So they said there were so many left, but if it doesn't sell, if they don't sell by this date, they're just, I guess they're being burned, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy.
But they were telling us they had a Disney castle with however many thousand stones on it. They only had, there was a limit to 10, or a mint number of 10, and they sold for $100 grand, and they sold instantly.
Only 10 available in the world. And if you actually if you look on YouTube for these collectors, we found one who actually had it, and then they had this giant display case of all these Swarovski Disney characters. maybe even the Millennium Falcon. Like, I don't know, there was some crazy collectibles, and they had to have spent a good, I would say maybe 5,000 to 100,000 on each piece in that collection.
God.
Yeah, the Millennium Falcon was 18 grand. Little Mermaid was 20.
Yeah.
It's just people are buying this stuff. So
they need to come to VEVE.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. They're there. They exist, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magic, VV Magic told me about that. Somebody that spent like 13 grand on Magic water, like some a Splash Mountain water, like a ride or something in
Whoa.
Disneyland, like the water from
Wow.
something. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So like you said, I mean, it's just a matter of time. I do think that, like, I think one of the biggest things that will get us there is like LiDAR technology. Like, I think when we're able to wear the glasses and you can set everything up, and then you have your friends over and they have their glasses on, you could show your stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if there's like metadata where you can read things in real time. See, like, and this is verified on the blockchain. It shows it's the first one of its kind. Like, that's where I think we'll start to see potentially some crazy price points, because like it's the same thing with statue collecting. I don't know if you've seen those people that like collect the big Batmans and the big Supermans, and they're like 3-4 grand a piece,
Right?
And their whole basement is like, you know, they have to convince their wives sometimes to be like, hey, can I turn one of our rooms into this, like, or you know, or maybe this, in your case, Tina, be convincing, you know, Rudy here, but but it's pretty amazing. So I'm like, okay, so like there's a lot of these major collectors out there, right? That we just need a small proportion to come in, right?
For sure.
We actually have a client that actually has we sold one of his houses. It's the Batman house, right? And it had the Batman elevator. He had a subterranean garage with a turntable, and that was like the Bat Cave. So I guess with a drone, you can see he has the pool.
Yeah. You can see this when you fly into huge, Arizona.
But yeah, it's the pool is so big. It's like basically the size of someone's lot of a regular house, right?
Like
it's
a resort.
It's huge. So there's a tiled in Batman logo, the bat, right? On the bottom of the pool. You can only see it if like you're swimming in it, you wouldn't notice it.
Yeah.
So that's somebody like he collects a lot of, you know, he's really big into it, but you got to find the right timing to introduce some of these people, because with all the stuff going on right now, it's like this isn't a good time to introduce somebody like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I feel like it's almost like a little secret right now, right? Because I feel like it's almost inevitable. Like, I was even thinking about it, like this Batman guy that you're talking about, right? Could you imagine saying to him, well, I guess you don't have a Todd, right? And it's like, it would probably pierce his soul. He'd be like, what do you mean? Like, what is Todd? And he'd be like, what's the first Batman on the blockchain or something, right? And he'd be like, okay, I have to get, like, I feel like a lot of them just, and to ensure their reputations won't be damaged, will have to keep up eventually once this becomes more mainstream, you know? So
oh, for sure. Well, think about that. You know, we've thought a lot about people putting so much money into these physical things where they either can get broken, or you have to store them, or it's like, you know, how you display them or insure them or whatever. But he put so much money into that house, customizing this house to a Batman estate. Like, it's known in Tempe as the Batman estate if you Googled it. It's a gorgeous home. But he sold it. And now someone else is enjoying it. But again, like, would you go and have to recustom? But if you have NFTs and you have your, you know, VeVe-verse, and say your Batman estate in VeVe-verse, now you're creating this and it's yours. You take it with you no matter where you move to, you know? So I think that's a really cool future aspect too.
I agree with that. And like you said, it doesn't have to be something that is like you could take it out and not whenever you want to. Like, you have the option, instead of it just being like an only Batman house, or it's like only this. Like, that's the other thing that I love about it, is like, you know, depending on the setting or the things that you're interested in at the time, you could look at those different collectibles or make a different showroom based on whatever it is that like is current or is hot or something that you want to showcase, right? So like the amount of like possibilities I find with the digital stuff is so much greater than the physical. And I have this really weird thing where I'm like, I believe that like physical things are going to be cease to be manufactured a lot of the times. Like, I was even talking to a comic book owner recently, and he was like, in 10 years, he doesn't think they're going to print physical books anymore.
Wow. Oh, wow.
He told me that. And he's like, so what I think is going to happen is, like, you know, a lot of this stuff is going to go parabolic in value. But then I questioned him. I was like, yeah, but at the same time, in 10 years, the digital world would be a lot more advanced, and the use case for the physical might not have the same kind of, you know, impact. Because I was saying to him, like, if you can get so much like utility and all these different things from a digital item, then like maybe holding on to the physical like as an investment wouldn't necessarily be the same, you know, wouldn't be worth the same amount of money. I don't know, but it was just
That's
like
so true.
Right.
That's cool. I like that point of view.
And it's
yeah,
hard
right.
to say what's going to happen. You know, our world's changing very, very quickly. And
Yeah.
now you've got AI and you've got, you know, chat GPT and all this other interesting stuff that I feel like is going to end up merging pretty much into this world, this same world. Real estate is doing, you know, contracts, smart contracts, you know, trying to get rid of title companies. So even our industry is evolving and changing with a lot of this new technology.
Does it scare you both, like the AI stuff, or is it like exciting? Like, or is it?
I don't know.
I think there's,
Right.
I honestly think there's lots of different people, of course, right? But there's kind of like two categories. There's people that are embracing it and want it. And then there's the people that are just like, I want a handshake. I want you to look me in the eye. I want to, you know, I want to touch the house. I want to swim in the swimming pool. You know, this is going to be people that just hold on to that physical or tangible piece.
Yeah.
And I think you just, to grow in any industry, whether it's VEVE, it's real estate, it's, you know, if you're a computer tech or whatever, it's like you have to constantly be evolving and growing and understanding what's coming. You can't just not embrace it, you know?
Exactly. And sometimes if you don't embrace it, then you just kind of get left behind. Similar to like when the internet started and now when we have Web3 starting, and it's like, you know, if people took advantage of like anything in the bull cycle last year, I mean, you could have closed your eyes and picked any crypto and
Yeah,
no 2 or
kidding.
3x, right?
Right.
So I mean, like, yeah, like it's important to, like you said, run with it. I'll be honest, I'm a little intimidated because I find it's just like solving so many issues so quickly. For me, like even like at my work, I'm a project manager, and like I can then get this thing to create like content for me. I'm like, okay, create like a Gantt chart and like all the different timelines, and it's just like spitting out information after information. So I just worry about it like replacing me, but but I guess there's always going to be that level of like in person and those relationships that maybe AI won't be able to solve. So let's hope.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, it may not even, maybe it won't happen in our lifetimes too, you know, so, but I definitely think it's something to be aware of.
Things are moving fast. So I don't know. I think it will happen in our lifetimes, to be honest with you. But I also do believe relationships is key. Is the relationships you keep. That's number one priority in any kind of business you do. So
right. Yeah, and I mean, I guess that takes us back to like, you know, VEVE and the relationship they have with everybody right now. And I feel like it's, you know, it's difficult because I keep telling people I don't think there was any ill harm with a lot of the timelines that they put out. I think it was like the intention was strong, the intention was there, but I think like because of the amount of challenges not only faced by like you know, the past few years with just like, you know, crypto and everything, but I think a lot of the challenges affected those timelines, and maybe they like, you know, didn't foresee a lot of the things that kind of came up. But I mean, they're still delivering, and like Tesla, like, you know, have delayed their Cybertruck like how many times over.
Yes, he's
So
had a reservation forever.
late 2019, or right, the first week it was released. I think it was late 2019 or early 2020. And same with Tina. She ordered a Bronco, the new Bronco.
Yes.
She ordered that in 2020. She just took
over
delivery.
2 years it took.
She just got it 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Congrats. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's like a dream for me, that one. Yeah.
So we started several businesses, and you always run across things never go as planned. Ever go as planned. That's just how it is. And it's very frustrating when you start building a team and then everybody that doesn't do what you do are saying, how come this? How come that? How come this? It's like it is a frustrating thing, but the target's always moving. And that's on established businesses. This is something brand new. This isn't the norm. So Tesla is building cars. Cars have been being built forever, right? It's a business model that's different a little bit, right? But not that much. This is a completely different business model. So there's going to be, I mean, target's in the dark, right? I mean, it's constantly moving. So we expect it. So when we hear a deadline, we're not going to hold anybody to it. It's great. I'm like, hey, I hope that happens, but it happens.
It happens all around us. Every company, like there's so much problems with supply chains right now. Like you go to get, say your microwave goes out. Oh my goodness. Now you have to get a brand new microwave that's that model. Like it's probably a good few months out. even pool equipment for our pool. Like it's kind of everywhere. And I feel like it's just kind of such a funny industry with VEVE, like the fudders, so to speak, is that they just want now, when, now. And there's no company that could be this massive and be able to just deliver an instant gratification, whether in profit, in answers, in deadlines being met. Like behind the scenes, like if we were to say pull back the curtains and kind of see into the world of VEVE, I expect they have so many different levels of people that they are trying to satisfy, like bring on board, make sure, I can't even imagine all the levels of the technology and the programming and the coding and security, and they're global. So now they have to make every single country that's involved with them happy too, and compliant, and all these like rules and regulations. And so they have so much on their hands. I am so incredibly I admire them. I admire what they're doing. I think they're doing, personally, I feel like they're doing a fantastic job. I just think that they're so well, like so far beyond most businesses. They're thinking like 50 years ahead versus say a traditional business who's doing a 5 to 10 year plan. Like it's really interesting, very, very interesting, their vision.
Yeah. And Chad, for some reason, everybody thinks the solution to fixing problems with VEVE is lighting a fire in front of their house. That is, I don't know why that's like a trend to do, is to light this fire on Twitter or whatever. It doesn't make sense we all want it to grow. We all want them to succeed.
Right.
That's the exact opposite of trying to help them succeid and help them do better. Right. That's how we feel about it.
I mean, so many great points brought up here. I mean, I just want to start by saying, I love the fact that we said this is a completely new business. These are things that have never been done before, and we're so critical of them. Yet, like, this is the first time ever in history that like Disney has ever said after 100 years, like we'll give you our digital copyright to this insane IP. And then, like you said, because they're 3 months delayed on something or 6 months on something else, or like one of the 20 things they said, isn't happening, or maybe it's just getting more delayed than we thought. People feel it's their right to then, like you said, go out and light a fire in front of the house. And it's not fair. And I always said this, like, you can address things critically and then in a way, especially like, I don't get a lot of these people that are like so invested into it and are like ready to part ways. I'm like, don't shit where you eat.
And announce it to the world. I feel like that is the funniest thing. Like if someone is really trolling me or being mean or rude or something, I'm just going to block them. I'm not going to tell everyone I'm blocking them.
Nice.
I'm just going to block them. And then if I'm not happy about something, I'm going to I will figure out a way to find the answer without making a big stink about it,
And it's interesting because a lot of the people that are already very successful in the real world are quieter, like, in my opinion. Like a lot of the people that I've met, like there's some concerns, like I think some of the major concerns are like the disabling of the accounts for potentially reasons that weren't necessarily like accurate. Like some people I find are, especially people with big bags come to me and say like, hey, this is a little bit concerning. But other than that, like people see the long-term vision. Like they're aware, like similar to what we're talking about, all of the in-person real life fans of this stuff, and whether that be making houses, collecting statues, collecting cards, they know now that this industry is now transferred over here, and there's just a small proportion of the major amount of collectors out there. So it's like, I think that alone is enough of a use case to want to like, buy these things. And then if that's not enough for you, then the fun component, like what you just said, with like your whole family, like researching these things, getting something on drops, and it's exciting. Like I don't really get that many drops, but every now and then, like I'll make a really good flip and I'll see that thing take off, and I'm like, I won the game. Like I go to my website, we're eating good tonight,
Right. It's funny. On drop days, we have this particular area with the best service. It's at a golf course. Right. And it's on our way to taking the kids to school. It's like, hey, it's drop day. Get your stuff ready. We got to leave 10 minutes early. we got to meet at the golf course. You guys are going to be 5 minutes late to school. It's just how
They
it
know.
is.
They know this.
Yeah. Teachers are writing slips.
Right.
No, even the
Oh, it's
teachers.
drop day.
That's how we sign them in. It's like, hey, VEVE Drop, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Understandable. Yeah, that's funny. Well, like let put it this way: if they drop Charizard, I will personally fly out and you guys can take me to
Go
all
to that spot.
Hey, I landed the SR AF15 in that spot.
Yeah.
That's like I put
Yeah.
X right there. Like that's where I go.
Yes.
That's wild. Do you still have it? I'm presuming.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We won't sell.
Yeah.
Man,
We
that
bought
to
one, she
me.
has one too.
I couldn't let
So,
him have
look,
one.
The competitiveness, this is how it gets. Because I landed, we were never planning on buying it. We're like, oh, it's too expensive. But because I got it, she's like, shit, I got to get one too. So she
I was like, no way are you gonna have this without me?
Oh
I
my
am getting
God.
one too.
Hey.
He's like, you are? I'm like, yes. Click.
Let me tell you how crazy
Wow.
it gets, Chad. Seriously, I'm sorry. Go off subject, right?
No, I
So
love
the
this.
potion dropped, right?
Yeah.
So I saw the potion, the number 100 go up, and it was a fairly good price. I'm like, oh my gosh. I went to go buy it, and I'm like, Tina, I'm having trouble loading gems. I don't know what the heck's going on. And then I'm like, oh, it's sold. She's like, I got it. I'm like, what the? She freaking went under me.
No. I was like, are you getting it? And he's like,
Holy.
it's glitching. I'm like, are you gonna get it? And then I was like, I got it.
I got it. Oh
I
my
was not gonna
God.
let go of that.
I'm like,
It
okay,
was
Tina,
the
let me.
number 100.
I go, let me buy it off you since I found it. I'll give it to her. She's like, no.
Like, no. And I retweeted that. I remember seeing that, Tina, and I retweeted because I was like, "Oh my God, what is?" So I didn't know the whole backstory. That's so
Yeah.
funny. And you guys must have some crazy stuff because I think if I'm not wrong, you had a matching mint Star Wars set. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Is it the matching mint?
the
Yes.
1977
Holy
R2 and C3PO?
Yes.
It wasn't cheap. I did pay for it. I didn't get lucky or anything. So, but I believe, I have the conviction to believe that it's a keeper for a while.
For sure.
100%. Like that to me is one of the, especially being a duo that you've got the two matching, like that's absolutely insane. Like that to me is like, there's gonna be somebody one day that's gonna be knocking on your door that's gonna be like, hey,
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the hope. So we'll see. I don't know. It's gonna be hard to part ways with it.
Yeah. And
Maybe
Tina,
on another stream we'll do. I'll tell you how it happened because it was a circus trying to get those two together.
And I did help.
Yeah, Tina tried to outbid me
No.
in the auction.
I did help. I sold some crazy stuff to help you.
well,
we did.
did you want to talk about it now? Because I'd love to learn about.
No, it gets my heart rate going a little bit. So
That's it?
we'll have to save that one.
Okay, let's save it for a stream number 2 then, because I would love to have you guys back on. So I mean, let's just take a second to appreciate that, right? Because this is what I love. It's like people that are going after these really special mints. I'm aware of a few like really cool shadow whales that are like huge mint collectors, and they're really like trying to match everything up. And so like, what was the conviction, I guess, like without getting into like some of the optics and everything, but what was the conviction that was like, I need these two things? Like, are you a massive Star Wars fan, or is that how it started?
We love Star Wars.
We do love Star Wars. I don't want to say we know everything about Star Wars. I've learned more being in this.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's funny. We never went after mints. And the lowest mint even, or the best mint I had was a 173 of something or something like that. It wasn't nothing special. But I was proud of that one. But I'm like, we're going to make a move. We're going to make something, a splash. What's the one piece or two pieces that I should go after? And that was when we narrowed in. I'm like, that's the one. That's going to be the one. We have to. If we're going to go big on this, let's go big on that one.
Right. And our thing too is go big or go home. So that's always been the case.
She scares me, man.
We have had the best successes in real estate when we have just done what no one else is willing to do. Yeah. So I will say, and I'm not advising this. Please don't think this is financial advice or anything. Do not just go jump all in. We take funds that are set aside for fun and we invest them in VEVE to have fun. But if it's like your car payment, your house payment or something like that, no. But we just like, I do feel like maybe we were in a weird way, like the universe, like we were supposed to be in VEVE. Like my birthday is May 4th. So may the 4th be with you. Our daughter's birthday
is 6/16.
June 16th, 616.
Yeah,
Oh my
pretty cool. Huh?
God. That's
And then
crazy.
look, we literally have the record sale in Tempe for the Batman estate. Come on.
Wow.
So I
That
do
is,
feel like there's like a weird like
yeah,
we were missing here.
100%. Like that makes complete sense now. And I thought I thought like Rudy was gonna be like, oh, and I was born like June 6th, order 66.
I'm the one that's left out.
Yeah. I'd be like, no way.
I sent you.
Wow.
I'll figure something out.
That is
Yeah,
so
go
cool.
big or go home. Like you have like the unique mints are really, really interesting. And even if something is failing, the unique mints still sell for higher. It's like location. It's like location with real estate. Same thing. It's going to sell for more, you know?
All right, here's how I put it, Chad, if you don't mind me explaining it.
For sure.
I look at like a drop, let's say the Vader Drop, right?
Yeah.
That's a neighborhood, right? It's a
Right,
community, right?
Exactly.
So you have your attractive mints like 111 or 3 or whatever, just attractive mints, right?
Yeah.
Or palindromes. Those are like, those face the park.
Yeah.
Right. Those are nice, or have bigger lots. And then you get into the more your low mints. You're like the 40s or 50s. Then you're like, those are like your beachfront properties.
Yeah. Like
right?
Monopoly.
And then you have your 1977s, and that's just the island out there.
Yeah.
That's how we look at it. It's like a neighborhood, right?
I love
and
that.
that's how it is with real estate too. It's like the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Some lots will sell for a lot more than others.
For sure.
So you try to get the beachfront lots. That's just how we look at it.
And they always sell for more, and they always sell faster than the basic lots.
I freaking love that. And if you just get one, you're lucky enough to be in the neighborhood. But like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. So that's an expensive neighborhood.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's really interesting that you say that, because I've said the same thing. They're essentially, what you've done there is you got, 2 1-of-1s that are matched together, probably like, representing the most significant Star Wars mint of all time, right? Like the year, right?
Right.
And so, when I think about like the magnitude of what that means, like long term, I really think that's something special. So I mean, kudos to you guys. And I'm aware of a few people, I think there was one person I knew, he had like the 1901 Walt. There's like a few other like really cool mints that I've come across. I mean, even like, I think Clever Jerk, if you're aware of that. Yeah, he's the man. I'm obsessed with this guy. Yeah. And every day he sends me new mints, and it's like I saw his Vader stack, and it was like order 66, like
Right, and that's awesome. That's I have to say that's probably an island as well. So I don't know.
Yeah,
awesome, right? That's a crazy set.
He has an insane collection.
Yeah. So I mean, that's so cool, and I mean that's the fun part that you're talking about, right? So, and when you both like kind of acquired this, like, was there somebody that gets to keep it? And like, I guess Rudy, you get to keep it in your VV account right now, or
that's mine.
Okay, so that's yours.
Ends up completing the purchase. We did like transfers though. Transfers were fun because we'd like get like if our kids were at school or in school during the drop, we'd get them some, then we transfer it to their accounts.
Yeah,
that was fun. But yeah, no, he keeps that in his.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah,
I
have the 76 Vader though. I did upgrade, so I didn't land that on the drop, but I was like on a mission. I've got it. I need to go. I have to get something good.
I think you matched a TIE Fighter too.
I did. I matched a TIE Fighter, so I have the 76 TIE Fighter and 76 Vader.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So like, I would love to dabble into your guys' collection. Like when we have the VVverse showrooms, just let me know, and I'll be renting out your showroom.
And I will tell you, I got MCP first.
Oh, okay. And
Rudy
still waiting.
Doesn't have any.
She has to remind me every day. Oh, look, I got 2,000 more points.
No, I did get 2,000 points, but I did just level up yesterday. I'm a 42 now.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
Damn, that's so cool. But one thing that I find super interesting, what I wanted to pick your brains on, is like something you said in real estate was really cool. Was like, some of these bigger properties that are like a little bit nicer, like they tend to like almost get a lot more interest, like a lot more people are after that kind of property or home, right? And it's the same thing I think with like VV, like even like I think Rudy's in the Miles Morales group, right? Like the secret rare group, right? And it's like, like something like that for me, relative to what you guys are, that was a big deal for me to get that because it was kind of expensive at the time. But I was like, you know what? I think it's worth it. But I just find that if this does really pop off long term, I think more people are interested into those things that are like more scarce, look cooler, there's fewer of them than they would be in the mass. Like people forget that, like, if you have something that's 60,000 editions,
Yeah.
nowhere in history, I mean, other than maybe Bored Apes at 10,000, are you going to get past like 100K? You know what I mean? Because of just the size of it, right? So would that be kind of a fair, I mean, estimate, I guess, of
100%. I think that's the best collectible on the app as we speak. I don't know what can beat it, to be honest with you. I kick myself that we didn't buy them when they were floating around $5,000 forever, right? Or even actually, they were in the threes at one time too. So
they were.
That hurts, but so I sacrificed to buy mine too. So I actually sold a partner statue and a few other things to make that happen. So yeah, I won the auction and I was like, shit, now I got to pay for it. I'm like, I gotta figure out how to do this. So
that's the worst part. Yeah. Oh,
I didn't think I was going to win. I didn't think I was going to get it. So, it's a really nice or low mint too. It's a 46.
Yeah, 46. Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys! I'm getting so jealous over here.
And it was inexpensive, which was crazy. So that's why I didn't think I was going to get it.
I see. So like you said, you put in the bid, you didn't expect that to actually make it, and it did.
Yeah, I did at the last second of the max I would do. I'm like, I'll just do what I'm comfortable doing. I'm not going to go crazy over it. Yeah. So I put in my max, and it was still much lower than what things are now, and we got it. So it was great.
Wow. And it takes money to make money, right? I find people that like can kind of like go in and just make those purchases and feel confident. Like I remember when Superman #1 dropped on DC. Did you guys go after that at all? On
that was a mess. That was a mess on my end. I got locked out for a month.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He has 2 bat cows.
I have 2 bat cows, and
he got locked out during that drop.
I waited in line. I was like number 1800 in line. I'm like, yes. I'm like, I'm in. I'm good. Well, my cousin, right? We're on this other chat. He's number like 18,000. I'm like, sorry, dude. I'm like, he landed the legendary.
Yeah.
Being number 18,000 in line. I was number, I don't know, it was sub 2,000, right? And I went to buy, something went wrong, and then it booted me back out and put me at 40,000. And then I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
So waited to buy it in the market. I went to go buy one in the market, a legendary for like 2,200, and then suspicious activity. You're blocked. I'm like,
yes.
No.
We're like, oh my gosh. And then you missed another good drop because your account was still locked out. So you had to go back and forth and email, waiting. That was hard.
That was rough.
And I didn't. I was in this queue for like hours, and I was like, I just don't have patience. I was like, forget it. And then I just bought it on the aftermarket.
Wow. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. But I mean, I guess we had a similar story because like my point of that is like my wife, I said, hey babe, I've only got $5,000 here to play with. I promise I won't spend more than that. And you got to remember, I'm Canadian. So like 3,300 US is like 4,600, 4,700 Canadian, right? And so when it dropped, I found one at 3,300, like a legendary, and I was about to snipe it. And then I got greedy and saw one for like 2,600. And I exit out, and then I forgot that like so many people were pressing on them, and then I couldn't get back in until like 5,500 US, which was like $7,000. And I was like, okay, it's gone past but my point is like, if I would have had a little more allocated or had more money, I would have felt way more comfortable buying in, because it was such a no-brainer. 150 editions is one of the most expensive comics all time, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, that one hurt me. It would hurt me too, man.
Yeah.
How you feel?
I know it does suck sometimes when you get hit, right? I'm not gonna lie, I've been hit quite a few times on VEVE, but the one time I got lucky was when I don't know if you know this story. I sold off one of my secret SpiderMans to Sean from Comics and Crypto way back in September of 2021, I think it was. And then it like went to 100K within 6 months, but I bought one back at 17K from flipping.
Oh wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and thank God, because at the time, but it's just like it's a lot. It gets a lot of pressure on you. Like it's hard sleeping at night, and,
Right. And it's hard to read this. This is there's no history behind it, right? There's no history what things are going to do. You can't really compare it to the real world because it isn't the real world. So trying to like with real estate, sorry, I keep bringing up real estate, but you look at the history, what's happened, how's it go, and the cycles, right? We haven't really seen a cycle here. Yeah. So there's there's no history to study.
And it's a little bit harder to analyze, there is some sources and great things, but the whole blockchain, trying to read, okay, like I've been looking for a certain mint Disney D for a long time, and somebody minted it, but you can't see who that person is. And I'm just like, oh, like if I like real estate, I can like look on tax records, I can see who owns it, I can mail them a card, I can go knock on that door. Like I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
That'll be nicer when it's a little bit, you know, I know there's lots of people helping with that. Omi Daily Burn.
Yeah, he's great.
Helpful. Vault Value seems to be like really helpful. But still, like, and it's getting better, which is great. Like I like token hunting now, which is nice.
Yeah. And they did the search number thing now too, right?
Yeah,
You can search for specific mints,
right,
which is cool. So that must be fun for you both, because now that's something that you could just quickly see instead of like filtering low to edition to high edition or whatever. And like, you know, that's cool.
Right.
Would that work after a drop? Like, let's say you're looking for a specific mint, you can just like put in like, let's just say 1969 on that top of the search bar and just hit it and wait for something to be filtered into that compartment.
Interesting. I don't know if it'd be real time or not.
Yeah.
No, right during the drop.
Oh,
like
during the drop. No. Well, the good drops, they sell out too fast, but I guess the slower ones, maybe the ones that haven't sold out, maybe.
Yeah. I do miss back in the day. Like, I don't know, you probably weren't here for it, but like before you bought something, the mint would actually show up before you purchased it. Do you know that?
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So it was crazy because the opportunities back in the day were stupid, man. Like when Todd was dropped way back in the day, it was $79.99, and I was just like literally sleeping when it was like at retail. And and then I ended up buying a ton of them, but I didn't even think to buy in the 1900s. Like I'm sure somebody just was like, with a few other people, were just there waiting for 1939 to pop up.
Yeah.
Or like
it's interesting.
So many opportunities, you know. So I wish they would reintroduce that though for the drops that wouldn't necessarily sell out. Like I'm sure if they did it for like Tarzan or something, like people would be like, oh, it's a low man, I'll buy it, you know.
The 1977 TIE Fighter is still in there. So you're right. That's driving me nuts.
It's so frustrating.
And that's an expensive one to pull the lever on, right? Because it's $80. So
wow. And there's a lot of them, right? It's like 16,000.
Quite a bit.
I think there's 8,000 or something like that left.
Wow. I'm hoping they burn some of this stuff. Like, I don't know if they're going to do it, but that would be so cool if they just went and burned. And what about the people that did the botting? Like, imagine they could burn their collectibles as well.
Right.
I like it. I'm excited about the potion, the deadline for the 26th.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
So it's really cool because I not to brag, but I did say that Donald Duck was going to be the least minted one.
You did.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's going to be some whale that's going to like, screw you, Chad. Like, let me. But it's interesting because Dumbo like may actually be the most minted because it's the secret rare. But I mean, Mickey looks like it's like leading the charge. And I just think for me, if I had to have one, like in 10 years from now, I'd have the Mickey 100 because it's the most iconic character.
100% right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Mickey and Minnie have the 100 on the poster.
Yeah.
In the background.
True.
I think that's important too, for sure.
So what are your takes on it? Are you both collecting all the sets? Like, do you have the potion, the 4 posters, and the 4 collectibles? Or what do you think about this?
Yeah, we have them all. It's Disney 100. So I don't think this is something that's going to be super value immediately, but in time, we think it will be. So, and it is fairly scarce. So we're pretty excited about it. We like it.
Yeah. And I like to buy and hold much more often. He plays a little bit more of the like grabbing this mint and then flipping it for $30 or something like that. Like he enjoys that.
You know why? Because I'm putting too much of my own funds in. I'm like, I got to figure out how to make this work where it makes funds for me. Because I'm like, dude, this is I'm constantly adding gems. I'm like, this isn't sustainable. So I'm trying to figure out a way to make those gems grow a little bit in the app.
Nice.
And I like set aside a certain amount, and then I like know what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to go buy it. I get them. And so I have one set. I have the Disney 100 potion, which I will never, ever transform. And then I have the rest of the set. And then I thought about getting, actually I have duplicates, right?
Yeah.
I have 2. I always try to get 2 of every set if I really love it. Because if it ever did go up in value, I still love it so much. I don't want to lose it. You know, like I still want to keep one. And then, but yeah, if I run out of money, I'm just done. I'm like, turn it off. I need to go back to work. I turn it off. It's too crazy.
Yeah.
Again, Chad, this is a game. This is not our investment strategy.
Yeah,
this isn't what we're retiring on.
It's instead of going to Vegas, instead of going to the casino, instead of going out to eat, you know, like, I mean, we still go out to eat, but It's that kind of stuff, you know, it's like our
Yeah.
money.
And it's important for people to know that, because like, you know, I share the same sentiment as you. Like for me, it's always been a fun thing. It's like, if it goes up, great. Like the fact that I was making, like when I first started YouTube, I was, you know, Todd was $79, you know what I mean? And there was
Wow.
still,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and there's still 6,000 left in the store. Like that's when I was like, okay, I just like it because it's cool. And like, I'm like, does anyone else like this stuff? Like I didn't think it was gonna go to 10 grand or whatever it went to. But
Right.
I think like that's where it started. It was like that passion for like digital collectibles and like, you know, Batman and all these things. And I think, you know, the issue now is a lot of people have it twisted. And I think that's why a lot of people are so hurt too, is they put in, they're over leveraged in a sense,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, you know, this always needs to be very smart about how you approach it, because like you said, it is a risky investment, and it's like it's never been done before. It's the first time that these things are being
Right.
made digitally, and who knows if there's
Right.
World War III on the way or what happens.
Right.
So yeah, so I think it's just like, it's a good mentality that you both have, you know. And if that's your fun money though, I mean, I'd like to come party with you guys.
We used to travel a lot, right? We used to go to
Yeah.
Vegas all the time
Yeah.
and do a lot of
Wow.
things. So
Our
Yeah.
kids are like, our son's driving now. Like, so like
Aw.
even when he goes out, we're like, okay, don't drink in case we need to go get him or something, in case we get the phone call. Like we're like
Yeah.
uber responsible those nights, because we're just worried something could go wrong, or he's gonna need us, or you know.
it's crazy though, Chad. We measure a lot of stuff now, stuff that we'll just spend money on. That's like stuff that's not important.
Other stuff,
We'll
yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
that's $400.
Yes.
What can I buy on VEVE for $400?
Yes.
Why would I spend on something like
Right.
that that's going to be gone for, you know, it's going to be garbage soon, right? Or I
True.
can spend $100. So we constantly do that now.
Yeah. And we've always like set aside. So our thing with like, whenever we're making money, we've always said like, we've always just said, okay, this goes to charitable causes. This goes to, you know, obviously our expenses. This goes to family, like kids, like college, stuff like that. And then this, we've always had a fun account, because life is just too short, you know, like
Yeah.
his parents are both passed on, you know, like I don't know my dad. Like I just feel like we've just had so many things happen throughout our lives where you just don't know when tomorrow's not going to be here.
Mhm.
So if you're not having fun while you're living, I mean, what are you doing? You know, so we just look at like everywhere we go, it should be all about the fun. Like it has like fun in everything. Even in a real estate transaction, I try to make sure that our clients are like having a good time. Yes, it's very stressful and it's a roller coaster, and you know, oh my gosh, there's lots of money, but it's still at the end of the day, it's got to feel good, you know, otherwise it
Right.
wasn't done right. You know?
So cool. And so well said. And I think that's like, you know, probably the best part of it. And even for me now, I can't even go to my local comic book shop and feel good about purchasing something when I know I can go get like friggin' Marvel Comics #1 or like GSX 1 or like, I'm like, it's $15 where it's $15. I'm like, I just feel like this is the better bet. I don't know.
Right.
But you're right. You see where you've been spending money. Like, I'm like, oh, I'll go get a Starbucks coffee and a chocolate croissant, or I could buy
that's a comic,
Ghost Rider or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's like 3 comics sometimes.
Yeah, right. Like, and it's like those little things. So, like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an added expense if you're just balancing your budget, like, you know. So yeah, that's cool. Wow, that's really neat. So does your like kids, are they obsessed with it too, or are they kind of like, oh, it's
Well, our daughter.
Oh yeah, it's sad.
Our daughter, because she couldn't KYC, so we're just renewed her passport. We're waiting for it. So I'm praying that once we get her passport, we can KYC her, or we could get this transfer, you know, merging accounts completed, which we're having a little bit challenge. But our son is super into it. Like how much money did he get last year for his birthday?
Yeah, he spent all of his birthday money.
He had like maybe $1,100 in birthday money,
he put it all on VEVE.
He's like, all of it, Mom, all of it. I'm going to Venmo it to you. I'm going to allow me to add, because I have to approve anything they buy on their apps. He's like, allow me to add my gems. And he just was like, he's studying, but it's great. Like, I feel like it's like, instead of just goofing off or YouTubing, you know, I'm not saying YouTube's bad, but like, I always tell them, like, don't just sit there just zoning out into the, you know, social media world, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, is this a good mint? He'll like text us from school even like, is this a good mint? Hey, did you see that? Somebody just dropped the price on the Todd.
He'll text me in school. I'm like, pay attention in class, damn it.
So he's very, very into it, and he's done well. Like he'll get something on the drop. He's super. What did he get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of what?
Oh yeah, he got a comic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the group comic. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's pretty solid.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
That's rare too. Damn.
Yeah, and what's really cool, he doesn't get enticed to sell. That kid doesn't sell anything. He's like, nope, he's not selling anything. So he just keeps adding what he can.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's good. I mean, it's funny. I was flipping back in the day. Like that's how I kind of like, and I kind of got obsessed with it. But like now I've got like a different approach. I'm just like slowly kind of accumulating, and I'm not in a rush. Like before the crypto bull cycle got me a little nuts. Like I was at night, like trying to flip things, and like, you know, my poor wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like on the phone in a dark room. Like it was friggin' nuts, man. Like, you know, and thank God that has kind of passed, because you know, I'd like have heart palpitations 3 a.m. like look at my phone.
Right.
Because the flipping game was like that. Like if you didn't do something within like, you know, an hour, you would lose that chance forever. Like if you were flipping out a walt at 13K into something that was 16, waiting for that to go to 25, then flipping back in, buying 2 walts, just as an example, you like the timing wouldn't always work, but like you were, you know, it's down to nanoseconds at points. But my point is now that's kind of, you know, phased a little bit. And I'm like kind of starting to see, okay, what are some long-term kind of growth opportunities? That's kind of how I see it. Is like, obviously I'm collecting because I really enjoy it, but I also am hoping that one day like it'll appreciate and people will be like, oh, this is, you know, this is really remarkable that you've done this throughout the years. You know, so I'm presuming that would be kind of the thing too for you guys. Like I want to come over and see the 1977 matching duo in the VEVE verse. Like that's what I want to see, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
We feel also, so I did a lot more stacking than Tina over the summer, and of course when prices were really still higher. I changed it a little bit so I do a little bit of stacking, but I think now special mints are at an affordable price for the first time that I've been in VEVE. Yeah. So I could never afford something. They're just stuff was just too expensive. I'm like, there's no way. A lot of these special or repeating, you know, numbers or whatever, they're affordable right now. So you can get into some of those things. Right. So I'm trying to get into some of that stuff while it's affordable, and then, you know, doing a little bit of stacking on the side, but not as much as I used to.
I like that. So you're kind of setting up your islands right now. That's That's interesting that you say that, because I remember recently, like maybe a month and a half ago, the 1939 Marvel Common #1 was sold for 10 grand, I think, which was like 2,000 or 3,000 more than the SR floor. But like still, like to me, that's like a one of one piece, you know, representing the first time Marvel's ever dropped an NFT on the blockchain. Like
I love that piece. I think that was a good deal.
Same. Yeah. And so there's probably a lot more like that currently, right? Is there any that you're after now that you got your eyes on?
I'll let you know when I do it in our next video.
Okay. True.
We're working on some.
And we don't tell each other.
That's funny. So this is like it'd be funny if you both were going after the same thing and didn't.
Oh, it happens.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
It happens.
Wow.
No, but we will, if one of us calls it, then we're like, okay, that's fine, that's yours. You go after it. Like we're not gonna.
I'll see here in the same auction something. Like, Tina, you outbid me. What are you doing?
At the end of the day, we share everything, but at the same time, like our collections are separate.
Man, I want your lifestyle. Like I wish my wife was as into it as you, Tina, because I've been trying to convince her, but it's hard. And I'm like, I do this. Like this is like my hobby. I was like, babe, like you got to come watch some of my my videos.
Yeah.
She likes it. I think she's seen how much anxiety it brought me back in the cycles, that she was like, you know, she's like, I don't know if I want to be a part of that, because I'm like I said, like those dark rooms were serious. Like it was like 4 hours and me just like, you know, like going on different screens. So I think she saw like a part of it that was like, well, I don't know if this is like healthy. But again, that's just me, right? Other people would like take it completely different. But like, how do you guys like kind of manage it? Like, do you ever kind of get stressed out by it? Like where it's like, oh, I missed out on this. Like, does it affect your day? Yeah. Where you're like, damn, like
losing an auction sometimes. I'll tell you, Comics and Crypto, they took that 1977 Saber from me. And I
Oh.
knew I should have bid higher, and I was just I'm like, nah, no one's really paying attention. And that one ate at me for a while. He knows it. Sean knows it. So that one was rough to swallow.
Yeah.
There's a few of them. There's a few out there where I should have pulled the trigger and I didn't. That's probably it's the regret moves.
Than
Those are the
anything
ones
else.
that hurt me the most. That sometimes just kind of bug me throughout the day. Like I had a chance to get the 1977 Yoda saber. I know it's not the year
Wow,
of Yoda,
still.
but
Yeah.
it's still Star Wars.
Right, part of it.
And I had to get a chance to get it for really, really, really cheap. And I was like, I could take my time on it. I ended up getting it. I got it, but I paid 4 times more than what I could have got it for.
Oh wow.
A month prior. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Those things eat at me a little bit when I let things go.
I am more stressed if like say so I don't like high dollar drops. Those stress me out more just because because the market's been so weird, you know? So like if you have a $60 drop and I'm just like, I want to go for the drop because I like the drop. It's fun. I want to see the green truck. I want to see if I get a good mint. I want to gamble. But at the same time, if it goes down to like $22, then I'm like, oh my goodness. I should have just waited. I should have bought on the aftermarket. So I feel like a personal, it's just like I was willing to spend the $60. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I could have got three of them.
Yeah. And especially because like you said, you're rolling the dice on that special mint, like a sub 100 or whatever, but it's like the chances are so slim. I do that all the time too. There's a lot of people be like, well, it's still a virgin mint, like technically you bought it, and like
I don't care.
Yeah.
Unless it's a big IP, I really don't care if it's a first mint.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, it's funny. It's interesting seeing people speculate on like what's gonna matter, like, because a lot of people love that stuff. But I do the same thing. I mean, the regrets and I think sometimes I like look back at not flipping out in the perfect time point as well. Like whenever there's that like euphoria. Yeah. I'm just honestly, like, man,
Chad, I can't imagine what I don't know. It probably would have not been healthy for me to go through that time period.
$79. Oh my gosh.
And experience what you saw. I think I would have made some really bad moves after experiencing that. So I'm actually very happy I didn't go through that, and that it was after when things started to go down that I came in.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that, because that was it was actually really interesting because for me, I had a wedding and a house in August of 2021 that I paid for through VEVE stuff.
Oh wow. I remember that.
Yeah, before it even popped.
I remember who said that.
Yeah, before it even popped. So like it wasn't like I paid for the house outright. I paid for the down payment. But still, and then same with my whole wedding, which was an expensive wedding, right? And it was like over 6 figures then. Right. And so it's like and then what happened was like if I would have held on to that stuff for an extra 6 months, like I could have retired. And that's exactly what you're talking about, right? It's like that. And then I had to like rebuild because I almost left it because I was like, oh man, it hurts so bad that I almost didn't want to come back, because I was like, oh, like how could that be, right? And then when I came back, I like just I put a little bit of money back in, and I like started flipping my way back up, and then this time I did it the right way. So if you know what I mean, right. And then now I'm rebuilding again. So I've but it does eat at me, because I'm like, man, like if I would have just known, I would have collected like 150 Todds. I would have done all that stuff. Yeah, because it was silly, right? Like people were paying like insane amounts of money. Like I remember Sean from Comics and Crypto told me at the time in August, he goes, Secret Rare SpiderMan should hit 100K. And I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, maybe in 10, 15 years. Like that's what I was thinking, right? I was like, it was 1,600 at the time, or 2,200. And it went 6 months later. So yeah, it was tough. But I'm still here, and I made some good moves, made some bad moves, but made, definitely in the green by a long shot, but just like how much further in the green I could have been.
Not a lot of people can say that though. That's actually that's good.
Yeah. So
I think a lot of it too is who you surround yourself with. So, you talk about these spaces, you talk about these YouTube channels, you talk about, these fudders. I feel like if you're going to jump into that Fudder world, you're going to get those results. If you're going to jump into a world where you have people like Clever Jerk or like some of these other massive whales, Rolex, people, Dr. Profit. I mean, you just have these incredibly brilliant and talented collectors and investors that are sharing their knowledge, sharing their experience, sharing with you what they feel is important to them. I think it's like our best mentors in real estate came from doing amazing things and having awesome success with it. So I feel like it's the same thing and I think, anybody coming into VEVE, they need to just make that decision. Are they going to get sucked into this victim negative stuff? Or are they going to start learning from people that actually have done what you've done, or have these amazing collections and why? Find out the why. What's their why? Or how are they achieving success?
Right. I think that's like such a good point, right? Is like to bring that up because there's so many lessons that even for me, I learned back then that I was like, wow, I didn't anticipate that to happen. One of the biggest things that was so interesting about that, like last cycle, was people were buying into scarcity, but not popular IP. So they were like, oh, let me pay 13 grand for a golden Moogly when like, Superman and Batman were like a few $100.
Wow.
Right. And it was interesting. People would actually take that amount of capital and put it into those things. And looking back, the people that did the play where they're buying like the higher minted popular stuff that was like FA, smashed it, right? And I don't think there's really anyone that I'm aware of, at least, that sold something like 100 Todds or like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know anyone that like really capitalized on that. And what people forget too is that like when something's at the peak, like if you're trying to sell 100, unless it's like a bulk trade behind closed doors, you're not getting that top value point for it, right?
Right.
But yeah, like, so it's I'm glad that you say that because it just kind of keeps a little pressure off. And like you said, instead of like, closing up shop and being like, screw this, I'm like, well, this is still $1 million opportunity,
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah. And even to be a part of this space and learn from all these people, like you said, all these whales, or even you folks coming on here being like, all stuff about real estate and all the analogies we made, like, and the fact that you're going after these crazy mints. Like I was funny. I thought you had the 1977 stuff, but I didn't want to ask. And I was like, no, it is you. Because that to me is like the ultimate. Like I would be like the number one thing I'd want on this app. So that's so cool. But listen, I know I've kept you for an hour and 11 minutes. I feel like we just started talking though. So I feel like
you're just scratching the surface, man. We have something to talk about.
Yeah, so I would absolutely love to have you on like ASAP, and maybe we can get somebody else with you folks. Like I don't know if there's somebody that you want to bring on or what have you. It'd be just so cool to do it again and maybe it would
be cool to have the next generation in here and maybe talk to my son, see what like.
I would love that.
It's funny, we mentioned Clever Jerk a few times. Clever Jerk is like famous on my son's wrestling team. They all like, look at his, they love his account. So it's pretty cool. Like he's already like got a big name at my son's school, which is
wow.
Fun at him with that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Hear his points of view and how he sees it.
I agree. Yeah, because I mean he's got a very, very limited. I mean, we don't even allow him to have a real job just because we want him to focus on school and wrestling. So like he's got very limited funds. It's us or like like neighbor jobs. Neighborhood stuff.
Wow, that would be so cool because it seems like he's really into it too, which I love. So yeah, and he could show off his collection. I'm really excited for the VEVEverse because in the stream he could like showcase everything. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. That'd be cool. That
would be cool. Like we could do almost like an augmented reality stream in a sense really where it's like right or VR stream or whatever. But yeah. Well, cool guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I feel like we're just scratching the surface, like Rudy said. There's still so much to talk about, but it was a lot of fun, and you guys definitely, I feel like, revitalized my position here. I feel like invigorated again to go and start collecting. So
awesome.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on.
Exit strategy too, like exit strategy, like the people that have put all their, if you're going to put this much time and energy into something and then to just let it go, that's a very poor exit strategy, in my opinion. I mean, you only lose money if you sell it for less than what you bought it for. So if you're holding on to it until it actually increases in profit, you're going to have a profit.
Same as real estate, man.
Same as real estate.
The people who sell in a down market say real estate's terrible. It's a terrible investment.
It's when they sold, right?
Dude, it's not time to sell.
Yeah. So give it
Right.
time. I think patience is something that anyone in an NFT world needs to appreciate and learn. It cannot be an instant gratification, and there has to be an exit strategy. If you buy for $10, don't sell it for $2. If you buy it for $10, you sell it for $50. Yay, you did well, or you just
Right.
hang on to it. Love it.
Smart. I think that's a really good way to end, because it's so true. Like, a little patience goes a long way.
Right.
And I think, like you said, in the housing market, it makes perfect sense, because like, you want to sell right now, good, you can go lose money, but just wait till the next cycle, right? So
Right. Exactly.
yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I had a blast talking to you both, and
Thank you so much, Chad.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on and doing this with me. So really cool.
Thanks for inviting us,
Thank
man.
you. Next time your
thank
wife
you.
needs to come on too.
Let's get her on. I'm gonna make her
Yeah.
watch this and be like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell her I want to meet her. Even if you come to Arizona, we'll just go for drinks.
Oh, I
Okay?
like that idea.
All
Yeah.
right.
Cool. All right. Take care.
All right. Take
thanks,
care.
man.
Bye.
Bye.